mixed method. In mixed method research, according to Creswell, you have to collect both qualitative, quantitative. You have to analyze with their own standard, and also you need to mix them. And if you don't mix them, then you can't say mixed method research. In while mixing, sometimes you mix them together, you collect qualitative, you collect quantitative together in the field. Now you bring them, you converge them, you mix them together at one time. That is a convergent or concurrent type of mix method. However, sometimes you do qualitative first, and after the qualitative, you do the testing of those qualitative research with quantitative. For example, first, if you do qualitative, you will frame some, uh, scale, you will frame some questions, you will frame some themes, you will frame some ideas, and you will test with the help of quantitative. So that is one type of sequential. However, sometimes what you do is you do quantitative data analysis. You bring your quantitative result. Now you wanted to find out why that is happening, how that is happening, and what is happening. If you wanted to go deeper into the quantitative result and take those results into more qualitative form by doing interview, focus group, if you wanted to answer that question in more detail, that type of research is also sequential design, or that type of mixed method is a sequential design because you are doing in particular sequence. Qual or quant, qual and quant, or quant and qual. So in that way, you mix it together or you mix it in a certain stage or sequential way. So that also differs in different mixed method. Another important case is either you emphasize both qual and quant equally or unequally. If you are giving equal priority, that might be a convergent design. If you are not giving them equal priority, that might be an embedded design. So when you merge or when you mix, and how much emphasis you give, that is really important. We'll discuss in detail, okay? In mixed method, as we already see, quant you do separately. First you do quant. You do all the process of quant. And then you do qualitative analysis, the qualitative data. You collect data, you analyze all those processes. Now in mixed method, you mix it, you combine this both result. You try to integrate results. In integration, first you mix it, you apply certain method to mix. Number second, you apply certain methodology to mix. You have your own paradigm. Qualitative has one paradigm, quantitative has another paradigm, while mixed method has another different paradigm. Your paradigm perspective is also different. And use of mixed method design, okay, after collecting both while quant, now you apply separate design to mix them. So that becomes a mixed method design. We'll discuss more. Yes, number one, mixing data, how you mix. In this case, in the first case, you converge the data. You try to converge them. You collect quant, qual, and you bring them together. You are converging. That is a convergent design. Another one is connecting. You do qual first, and then after the qual result, with the help of that qual result, you will do quantitative analysis. So that is also connecting data. Another one is embedding, mean one is given higher priority, another is given low priority. Can you see? Quant is bigger one, qual is smaller. You do more quant, few qual. You do more qual, few quant. In that also, that might be embedded in that way. Embedded design mean one is given more priority. However, convergent mean you collect them together and merge it together. And in connecting or in sequential design, you do one after other. That is a sequential design. Now, how you handle qualitative and quantitative data? Number one, sequence. As I already mentioned, sequence is important. If you do it together, it is concurrent. Otherwise, if you do one after other, that is sequential. Or sometimes it might be both. You do it together and then you do it you again you do the follow-up. For example, you do conversion and again you do some follow-up interview, focus group. That might be the case sometime. Sometimes you give high emphasis to coil or quant. According to emphasis also it matters, okay? It differs. And even both concurrent and sequential phases might be used in some cases. And other than that, for example, one example I'm showing here, in concurrent mix method design, if you are mixing them together, you see quantitative data and result, qualitative data and result, you try to interpret them together now. That is a triangulation design, or that is a concurrent mix method design. You are doing concurrently, you are doing together. In that case, it is triangulation. That is a triangulation design. However, here you are also doing together, but one is given high. Which one is given high priority? Quantitative pre-test, you do qualitative small step, and then you do quantitative post-test. For example, you do quantitative pre-testing, you do some qualitative to follow up with that. Again, you do quantitative post-test mean in that case, QoL is embedded to the quantitative. So in that way, how you mix them, how you integrate them, that makes mix method different. Otherwise, it is the mixing of both qualitative and quantitative. When and how you mix, that differs, and that makes you get different type of design. For example, this is concurrent. It might be concurrent triangulation, concurrent type of embedded design. However, in sequential, one is explanatory, another is exploratory, another is, it is also embedded but a sequential type of design. So mixed method can be done in different way. In the first one, you do quantitative. You find your quantitative data, you identify quantitative data, you do analysis. Now you do follow up with the qualitative data and result. You follow up with qualitative data and result. So that is an explanatory design. And in exploratory design, you do qualitative data and result. First, you do qualitative, and then you build up with certain quantitative data and result, and you interpret it. So that is a exploratory design. In explanatory design, you do quantitative data first, while in exploratory design, you do qualitative first. So that is the two thing, okay? Explanatory mean quant first, exploratory mean QoL. Explore mean you first explore. The word itself tell, okay? Explore something and then test it. That is qualitative first. Explain something and then explore it. Explain and then explore. So explanatory and exploratory. However, in sequential, QoL, quant, QoL, and then you interpret at the end. So in that way, sequential embedded design can be of 3 types. So these are about the types. This is one example how you embed the result. You do quantitative data collection pre-post, and you do some qualitative in between. So this is actually using some experiment. If you are doing some experimental test or experimental design, you have pre-test, post-test, and you also do some qualitative in between. Yeah, in terms of philosophy also, yeah, in terms of, mixed method, qualitative, quantitative, there are post-positivism, constructivism, transformative, pragmatic, or it might be quantitative. So philosophy, research design, research method might be different. I will not discuss more on this. I'll just show you, okay? In post-positivism, usually in post-positivism, it means it is a quantitative. Constructivism is a qualitative type of worldview. However, pragmatism is mixed. I will not go deeper in this because we will not discuss more on worldview. We will discuss. And even we already discussed this thing, how to identify which method to use. You all know, we already discussed why or how question and qualitative. If you have to test, measure, generalize, replicate, you have to do quantitative. Mixed method means you have to explore from both perspective. You combine both QoL and quant, then that is a mixed method. In qualitative, you explore, you understand, okay? You try to identify things in qualitative. However, in quantitative, you test, you examine, and you use deductive method. However, in qualitative, you use inductive. We already discussed this. And even in mixed method, you integrate. And this is these are few type of example. Okay, quantitative mean it might be a experimental design. It can be non-experimental type of surveys. However, in qualitative, it can be narrative type of study, phenomenology. These are the example. Okay, just how qual, quant, and mixed they differ. That is only showing it here. Okay, that is they are just the example of different method. So in mixed method, in quantitative, you are predetermined. In qualitative, it's emerging, open-ended type of question. However, in mixed, you use both. So we will not discuss more because we already discussed this a lot. Even I will not spend more on this because we already discussed typically a quantitative, qualitative, quantitative, and mixed method. You construct, you use transformative knowledge. In quantitative, post-positivist knowledge. However, in mixed method, you use pragmatic type of knowledge. Now, let's discuss more on mixed method design. Okay, as we already discussed, if you see this table, it will help you more. It will make you more clear on how and what type of mixed method design are there. First, concurrent and triangular. If you see this table, you can see, okay, qual and quant. This table will help you to understand more, okay? I will record this as well. Qual and quant given equal priority in some cases in concurrent triangulation design. Sometimes you can give quantitative emphasis, quant big, qual small. However, if it is qualitative emphasis, you will give priority to qualitative, and then quantitative will be less. So concurrent means qual plus quant equal priority, quant emphasis, and sometimes it may be qual emphasis. So it depends, okay, type of design. So concurrent triangulation means you do them together. However, concurrent embedded means there is no equal priority. However, sometimes quant might be big quant means you are giving high priority to quant, and qual big means you are giving high priority to qual. And even in explanatory sequential also, you do quant and then qual. Quant sometimes can be big, qual sometimes can be small. Or in some cases, qual can be small, quant can be bigger. So you get, according to the priority also, it differs. So these are the different type of design. Sometimes you can give equal priority, sometimes you do not give them equal priority. Even in explanatory, exploratory, qual and quant equal priority, one after other, or you do qual smaller section of qual and then you do bigger section of quant, priority to quant. And in this case, well, in this way, there are different types. So how much priority you give and in which way you are assessing, that matters, either concurrent, sequential, or qual emphasis or quant emphasis. So these are few examples of mixed method design. Okay, this is one real example. Look at the figure. It will help you understand more about concurrent triangulation design. However, if you have to do mixed method, it is always suggested to make a diagram like this, okay? Why you have to show a diagram? Because this diagram makes us clear on how the research was conducted. So in mixed method, it is always suggested to make a diagram, visual diagram like this. For example, you collect the quantitative data. What are the methods you use to collect quantitative data? You use survey, structure, observation checklist, or sometimes charts you can use. Now you collect those data. Now you did whatever analysis, statistical analysis. You do some statistical test, or for example, it might be structural equation, modeling, SEM. Now you bring the result. Again, you do the qualitative. In qualitative, what you did? Semi-structured interview, observation, document, artifact you read, or you can bring text or image. You can identify text or image. However, you do coding and thematic analysis. How you analyze? Coding and thematic. And what are the product you brought? code, theme, and what approach you use? Grounded theory. For example, in quantitative, product was numeric data, text was statistic, structural equation modeling. However, in qualitative, you have a text data or image data. You get a course and you get themes and you apply grounded theory. Now you did them together. Now you integrate the result. You compare the result. You compare, contrast the result. Sometimes the data might be converging, the result might be coming, a coil also result, quant result, bringing similar result. That is a convergent type of converging result is coming, or same result is coming from coiled and quant. However, in some cases, coil result might be coming in one way, quant result might be coming another way, that might be diverging. Sometimes the result might diverge, right? The quantitative answer and the qualitative detailed analysis result might be different. So in that way, either you compare, contrast, you see converging result or diverging result. So such thing might arrive in what type of analysis? Concurrent triangulation design. Because qualitative result might be different, quantitative result might be different, mean in that case result is diverging. If result if result is the same, then the analysis is converging, or the result is converging, you are getting the similar result, not the different one. That might happen in any type of mixed method design. Sometimes both results might not come same. Who knows? In quantitative test, one thing might be significant, one result might come. However, if you go in field, in depth analysis, interviews, focus group, the result might come different. So the result might be, you have to compare, in this case, compare, contrast. And ultimately, you will bring a final result. Now, what is the result? How you analyze it? Now, that is up to you. That is actually mixed method design. Till here, before this, they are separate. Coil was separate, quant was separate. Your result was coming differently. Now it become mixed method. When it become mixed method, now when you integrate the result, it become a mixed method. So I have seen many researchers, many students, they do one chapter of qualitative, they do another chapter qualitative, quant, coil are different chapter, and they say it mixed method without integrating. And actually, according to Creswell and other different mixed method researchers, if you don't integrate the result, that will not be a mixed method design. To become a mixed method design, what should be done? Integration is important. If you don't integrate, what is the value of that mixed method? You are bringing quant results separate, coil results separate. If you don't mix it, that will not be mixed method design. Become a mix. Listen, okay? If you take different topics, for example, you did coil, you do coil, you do quant. And in this coil and quant, for example, if you ask question, attitude of people, if you ask satisfaction related question, attitude, satisfaction, you ask, for example, it might be service delivery, how service was there, or what are the attractions. In qualitative, the difference will be, you will ask why and what question. Why, what, how. In all these cases, in this qualitative, you ask why, what, how question. How satisfaction is different. Why satisfaction is there. What is the satisfaction level? How is the attitude? What is the attitude? So in this data, you will ask this type of question in qualitative. However, if you have to do quantitative of the same, see, you should have question related to attitude. You should measure the attitude, but how you measure the attitude? By asking like a physical question. Is your attitude, how is their attitude? Low to high or medium to high? So you make some Likert scale question over here. Or you give certain 1 to 10 range. So now you have to take the same topic. You have to take the same topic. What topic you used to take? Attitude. In this case, you will ask question, you will record them, and you will identify why, what, how that is occurring. And in this case, in quantitative, you will ask Likert scale questions, and you will ask the question. They need to give response according to the either it might be Likert scale type range, or it might be 1 to 10 type of range. So please understand, quantitative and qualitative, if that is done in mixed method, question or the topic taken should be the same. What type of design I am talking about? Concurrent. Why it is concurrent? Because you are collecting similar data, but from different perspective. This is from qualitative perspective, same question. This is from quantitative perspective, but the question is related to attitude. And again, satisfaction also here, again, same question you will ask, why, what, how type of question. And again, you will have some sort of Likert scale question. So be clear, if you are doing conversion design, the question asked should be similar. The topic you are taking should be similar in both qualitative and if you don't take qualitative and quantitative together, then it will not be a conversion design. To be a conversion, how will you will be able to compare and contrast if you have the same similar question, similar result, and then you can compare and contrast. So that is the important thing. In concurrent design, what is important? You have to take similar type of questions. So use strategies to explore contradictory finding, either qual and quant, that is contradictory or not. Either that is contradictory or they are similar. You will check. Another one is use parallel question. I'm entering the same is the parallel. Here, why, what, how type of question, but the topic is same. So parallel question is important. Topics should be same to compare. Otherwise, how will you be able to compare and contrast? So the topic should be same. Another, sometimes a few researchers, if you give them equal priority, the number of samples might be the same. If you have to give equal priority, samples should be the same. If you are giving high priority to quant and low to qual, this sample might be high, this sample will be high, this sample will be low. If you are giving this more priority, if you are giving more to this, the sample might be equal or it might have more sample. So it depends upon selecting subsample of quantitative or qualitative. Because if you want your qualitative to be smaller, in that case, sometimes you can take subsample. And be sensitive to bias from one data collection to the other. And you shouldn't bring any bias. You shouldn't bring any subjective thing. You shouldn't try to influence the result. For example, if you get certain quantitative result and you wanted to get the same result you get from quantitative, if you do that, your result will be biased. Your study will be biased. So that shouldn't be done. So bias should be avoided. So conversion design mean, or concurrent design, conversion design mean your question should be parallel, similar topics, and then you can compare or contrast. Your design, sometimes the finding might contradict. Sometimes it might be similar, but there should be parallel question. And sometimes there could be select subsample of quantitative or qualitative and be sensitive to bias. However, in explanatory or sequential design, there is explanatory, there is exploratory, and in the case of explanatory, as we already discussed last time, in explanatory, you do quantitative first. Your quantitative sample might be higher. If you do quantitative first, you might do quantitative data collection of 5,000 surveys, 500 surveys. However, if you do second stage qualitative, can you take 500 people for interview? No. Can you take 5,000 people for interview? No. So what you do? Select qualitative sub-sample from quantitative. In the case of explanatory, your quantitative sample is high, however, your qualitative sample will be less. And you have to do in explanatory and consider alternative for follow-up for qualitative sampling. So the sampling would be different. In exploratory, yes, this is important. The sample, okay? Here we are talking about the sampling. Sampling, the type of question you ask. So what is the difference you found in concurrent? The sample can be the same. The sample need to be the same, but you ask different type of question to the same people. Quantitative, you ask quantitative question to the same person, qualitative question to the same person. And then you identify how result is coming from qualitative perspective and quantitative perspective. So in concurrent, your sample will be the same. However, in sequential, if you do qualitative first, how many sample will be there in qualitative? Of course, less. And if you do quantitative in the second stage, what will you do? You can't rely on those few people. Now you need to take broader sample. You might need to take higher sample. So in that case, you approach more people than you discuss on the first phase. However, in explanatory design, you already have large sample, you take some people from that large sample. So sampling you should understand. What is the case of sampling? In concurrent, it is if you are giving equal priority, equal number of people in qual and quant. If you are giving high priority to quantitative, in quantitative there will be more sample, in qualitative there will be few sample. But you integrate together. However, in the case of explanatory, of course, in explanatory, more sample will be there, and in exploratory, in the first phase, more sample, in the second phase, qualitative, there will be less sample. However, in this exploratory, your sample will be less and it might be different. So these few words, okay? For example, quant, and your few words, that is important. So sampling, sample size and sampling. Sample size and sampling. How you determine sample size and sampling? If it is a explanatory, it is mentioned there. Explanatory mean what comes first? Quant. Of course, in quant, how many sample might be there? 500. How many samples? 500. However, in the next phase, qual, how many sample could be there? There will be obviously less than 500 because it's not easy to get to all those 500 people whom you contacted in the beginning. You analyze those and you do few sample from this one, few subsample. Here you are taking few subsample. Here 500, you take few subsample from that 500. It is for the explanatory. However, for exploratory, of course, qualitative, you did 10 interviews, for example. How many interviews you did? 10. Now, after taking out the result of the 10 interview, you analyze those, you bring some finding. Now you wanted to test, validate, replicate. Now, how many samples? Will you rely on these 10 people only? No. So you will not take the same sample, or sometimes those 10 people might be repeated. However, you need to take 10 plus more. Because with those 10 people, you cannot test, replicate, or find a statistical significant result. So you need to approach more. Here, you take subsample, here you take more sample. However, in convergent, In what happens in convergent? You take
Same.
same. If it is equal priority means same. And it depends upon another case. If you are not giving equal priority, then if your quantitative is dominating, qualitative might be yes, sometimes. Otherwise, it should be the same. And what about the research question? The question should be asked same in this case convergent, so that you can converse. However, in explanatory, you find one result and you take another step with respect to that result. So what the result is coming, you will take it to the another step. So this is the approach, okay? This is the main thing you have to understand in terms of methodology. So why mixed method is used? Why it is necessary? Why mixed method then? Yeah, you have a qualitative result, you have a quantitative result. You already have a result. Why it is necessary to do mixed method? It is more burden, right? You have to do qualitative separately, you have to do quantitative with all the norms and standard of coil and quant. And again, you need to integrate. Why you need? You simply don't do mixed method. You should do for a certain reason. There should be some reason, there should be some explanation, there should be some justification or rationale for doing mixed method. What are some rationale? The first one is to compare results from qualitative and quantitative result. What does that mean? What type of design? Comparing, convergent, or it might be triangulation. Convergent design because you wanted to compare result of coil and quant. And now think, what type of design will you apply? Are you planning to compare the result? For example, you all are planning to do mixed method, means are you planning to compare, contrast? That is the question. If yes, then you are doing a mixed method. We wanted to do quantitative and I wanted to see whether the same result will come from qualitative or not. Are you doing comparing? So that is important, number one, comparing. Another one is to use qualitative research to help explain quantitative finding. Another case, what you can do, use qualitative research to help explain quantitative findings. So, first, you do quantitative, you do testing, you do analysis, you find your result, whether it's significant or not. Now, you wanted to find why that is occurring, how that is occurring, what is the reason behind that. Sometimes testing, yes, it is significant. Yes, it is not significant. Yes, there is a relationship between these variables. That itself is not sufficient. You might need to ask question why that relationship is occurring, how that relationship is occurring, and what is that relationship, how that is happening. So to answer those things also, you need to do mixed method. Now, what type of design you are thinking of? I always ask students, if you are doing mixed method, you should be applying any of these things, either comparing two results, bringing together, or first you do testing, you do surveys, you find some result from the survey. Now you wanted to see why that result is coming, what is the reason behind that. To explain more, you do mixed method. Another one, to explore using qualitative research and then to generalize finding. Have you heard skill development? Skill development is a process where you do literature review, you identify certain topic, you do qualitative research, you identify what are the themes coming up, what are the questions generating, and from that qualitative finding, you develop questions, you develop skill. From first, you do qualitative, you identify certain skill, you identify certain questions. Now you try to test that to people, whether those things, what is the satisfaction level, what is the product value, how those things are occurring. In second step, what you do, you just, what you do? You try to generalize, you try to test. You bring some themes, you try to test. In skill development, you do first qualitative and then quantitative in most cases. So why qual is done first and why quant is done second? Because if you don't have anything to test, if you don't have questions to test, or if you have questions, you already have some questions, you already have your quantitative, theories. There might be the need to modify, or there is a need to modify that. And if you need to modify that, you do some qualitative data collection analysis, you modify the question and you test it. So in that case also you use mixed method. Another is to develop an instrument because none are available. Sometimes you need to develop instrument. Sometimes you need to develop scales. Sometimes you need to augment and experiment. Yeah. You do pre-test, post-test. You identify that pre-test and post-test as this result. And now, with respect to that pre-test, post-test result, why that change is occurring? Can you do why that is occurring? Can you get the why answer from quantitative? It's not possible. So you do, after your result, you ask question why that is occurring. In that way, you try to ask qualitative question and then identify why that is happening, why that experiment is having different pre-test and post-test value. In the pre-test, there are certain value, in the post-test, there is a change in value. Why that is happening? What are the things bringing that change? So in that case, also you apply mixed method design. So what are the different type of mixed method design you can apply? First, why mixed method is important? To compare results. Second, explain. You got certain test, you got certain result, you got certain theory, you verify certain theory, now you like to explain why that is occurring. So you should be clear on what you are doing. Now, take certain time, you might have your own research question. Now think which one might be applicable in your case. And then we will discuss accordingly. I will try to bring example on top of your research so that it will be easier for you to answer in the future. So you should identify which one you are going to do. If you are not doing these things, then that is not a mixed method research. If you are not answering this, that might not be a mixed method design. If you are simply bringing qual quant, if you don't integrate, what is the use of that mixing? That is that you are not mixing anything. So in a mixed method research, you need to mix. So this is important, okay? And what is the reason for mixing? These are the reasons why it is why mixed method is important. Insufficient argument. Doing quantitative and qualitative is insufficient. Quantitative doesn't provide you why answer and what answer and how answer. However, qualitative provide you why, what answer. It doesn't provide you whether it is significant, it is applicable, it is testable, it is replicable or not. So to replicate those, you have to do, or you have to rely on mixed method. Sometimes multiple angle argument. If you compare, contrast, you are bringing multiple arguments from point and qual. And the more evidence, sometimes the more evidence, the better. Instead of having one evidence, you have multiple evidence. You have the quantitative retest result, and there is a qualitative answer to that. So that these are the example. These are the reason for mixed method design. So this is the basic about qual, quant, and mix. Now you have to think whether what type of design, you have to decide on what type of design. Now, how to do mixed method, we will discuss more from the beginning, from the start. For example, whenever you are, how you do, you start everything with the literature review. You start everything with a literature review.